that's refreshing. Good. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Maher, and your team for the warm welcome. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be with such an accomplished group of individuals like yourselves, engineers, architects, interior designers, and problem solvers. It's such a pleasure to be with you. As Paul beautifully introduced me, thank you so much, Paul, for that. Yes, I'm the managing partner of Bright Fields with offices in Qatar and Dubai. And our mission is simple, as he said. It's to really create positive workplaces through coaching conversations. And we aim to reach to empower 10,000 leaders by 2030, and we are on this journey together. And I really believe that I work with leaders and teams across different organizations, different sectors, be it oil and gas, FMCGs, construction, financial services. And we always realize that there are turbulent situations and challenging situations, and we are called to allow people to lead from a place of courage, clarity, and connection. And we are there for that. And I think the word, pressure is something we all know. You all know very well what that means. And I believe that all of you here today do not deal only with deadlines or deliverables only. You deal with ever-changing regulations, maybe. You deal with supply, delays. You deal with budget constraints. And pressure becomes not something like occasional that happens. It becomes, the background noise of every day of our modern life, right? And then some of you might think like, okay, now there's this woman coming on stage, will tell us, be positive, and things will happen. Well, I want to assure you that I'm not here for this, fluffy motivational talk. I want you to really look at positivity as a skill, as a mental operating system. Just, like you engineers and systems think about systems, it's a mental operating system that allows you to lead better, to make better decisions, and to stand, steady in challenging situations. So, in fact, I really believe that, when someone in challenging situations says, be positive, it's very unrealistic and sometimes even insulting. It's not that. So I want you to look at that positivity from that side, because this is what we need to learn. We need to learn how to build that muscle that we have, okay? So we will do that differently. And before jumping to share with you, I've prepared 5 tools that will give you practical tools on how to practice this positivity muscle. I want to share with you a personal story that I don't usually share on stages like this, but I felt the urge to share it because I want you to know where I'm coming from. So 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, I faced, it was one of my darkest chapters in my life, where one of my family members was battling severe depression. And if, I don't know, someone of you who was supporting people with mental health crisis, you know that this is not just tiring, it is draining. And you feel like you always question, am I doing enough? Am I enough? Am I supporting enough? And on the outside, I was appearing like I've got it all, business as usual, work, emails done, family okay-ish, not absolutely well. But during that time, I realized that something that changed how I look at life, which is I realized that positivity, as I shared, is not pretending that everything is okay. And that's what social media shows us, a positive vibes to approach to life only, positive vibes only. No. I realized that positivity is not about pretending that everything is okay. It's not about ignoring the problems. It's looking at a mental capacity that allow me to see what else can be true. What's the learning for me here? What's the opportunity? What's the next best move? And I really believe that what I'm sharing about mental health or in challenges, we all face that. And I really believe that every one of us, and that's what I see from my coaching sessions with my clients, that every one of us is fighting a battle that no one knows about. We know this much about people. So, as I said earlier, challenging times are there. Doing more with less resources is there. And what happens in our brain, I'll share a bit of biology. What happens in our brain during that challenging times, it does something that's very natural, which is it goes to survival mode. And what's that survival mode is that when your stress floods the system and you stop being able to see any opportunities and you start doubting everything. That's the survival mode, because the brain's only function is to scan the environment and to tell us, is it safe or dangerous? So stress is definitely dangerous. And what happens on a cellular level, the brain goes into releasing lots of cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And the amygdala, which is a small gland at the back of our head, gets activated. Okay? And when this amygdala gets activated, we call it's like an amygdala hijack. And the prefrontal cortex, which is this part of the brain, becomes offline. It takes a back seat. And that's really important for us as problem solvers, because this is called the executive brain or the logical brain. So imagine in moments of stress, when you go and have that brain sitting back, not being able to take decisions. And I want you to imagine, God forbid, that we are on an airplane that got hijacked. So automatically you will go into this protect mode, because simply you just want to save your life. You care nothing for anything else, right? So in that state with the protect mode, we lose focus, we cannot see opportunities. As I said, it's like you're facing a brick wall. And that's what happens when the amygdala is hijacked. Now, the good thing is that we can train our brain, and when we train our brain, it moves from this panic mode to that leadership mode that allows us to take decisions. And that's called cognitive flexibility. So bear with me these words, but this is your brain's capacity to adapt, to recalibrate. So imagine you are driving in a territory that is not new to you, not familiar, in a new city. So if you are driving in that new city and you're facing roadblocks, you're facing, the weather started changing, it's getting dark, if you have that GPS, you don't panic. You know that you will just reroute and move forward. Same thing in our brain. When we train it to become seeing more perspectives, it's having that GPS, it's having that cognitive flexibility and being able to know that whatever happens, I will not fall apart. On the contrary, I will be able to move forward. So again, the beauty is that God gave us a neuroplastic brain that we can train. I keep on doing this because it's a muscle that we can train to keep that GPS active and working for us in our favor, okay? So in positive psychology, there's another theory that says that when we have positive states, such as hope or gratitude or curiosity, we have that broaden part So it's called the broaden and build theory, because when we have those positive states, we can broaden our perspectives, we can see this whole thing. And with time, we keep on building, we become more resilient, more confident, you build better relationships, and you can see that. So I shared a bit about, biology or anatomy or whatever, or science here, because I want to show you that this is a science. This is not, Faten lives on La La Land and she doesn't have problems. Every one of us has problems. It's just how we look at that and how much we practice our muscles. So are you ready to look into the tools that I will be sharing with you? Yeah? Because we want to be planting seeds. So every time you shift your perspective, every time you see other than stress, you're planting those seeds, and you need those seeds that will help you in your future. So tool number 1 is as simple as it is, but it's not common. I learned early in my career life that common sense is not common, which is control the controllables. Control what you can control. And I'm saying this because you would be surprised how many of you would be thinking to control everything. And let me tell you this. Each time we try to control what's not in our control, we are getting tired because we're holding more than we can. So when we say control what's in your control, I will tell you what you can control only. Your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions or behavior. These are the only things you can control. Now, other people's thoughts, other people's behavior, other people's actions will never, ever be in your control. So when I have some clients and they say, for example, I want to live in peace, talking about the opposite of stress, let's say peace. And I know that they want peace like a 10 out of 10. So I ask them on a scale from 1 to 10, where are you on that peace scale? They would say, let's say, 5. Okay? The first thing that we need to look at, that it's good that it's a 5 and not a 1. So they've made some progress to get to a 5, right? Now my next question would be, what would make it a 6? And they would say, if my manager saw the work that I'm doing, if my spouse did this, if my kids appreciated what I do, I would increase my peace. And I hope by now you realized that this would never ever shift the needle, because it's not in our control. You might be doing the best things ever, but your manager or whoever doesn't see that. So I ask them, because the last thing you want is to give your power to someone else. Then you would never move on that ladder, let's say, to go from a 5 to a 6 to a 7 to up to 10. So I ask them, what's in your control that would make it a 6? What's in your control that would make it a 7? And that's a game changer, because they realize that they have to take ownership and responsibility to move that. It's impossible to think that we can, like others should look at us and appreciate us. Maybe they have some other story that's going on. So we need to take that ownership and to control what's in our control. So now I have an exercise for you. You have papers in front of you. I want you each, please, bring your papers and pens. And I will just draw a circle. I want you to draw a circle. Everyone, please, come on. And this circle, we will call it the circle of concern. Okay? So I want you to draw, because I told you it's a practical thing, so I don't want you to leave without some practical tips, right? So We will call this the circle of concern, and I want you to write down everything that is concerning you right now. Everything. Your health, your family, your kids' health, your work, losing your job, anything, and no one will read your papers. It's only for you. So it's as confidential as it can be, and I will not ask you to share what's in that. I'll give you 30 seconds, not more. So write down what's concerning you. What's something that's worrying you right now? You don't have anything worrying you? Okay. You have. Okay? Because I really wanted to be as practical as possible. So 30 seconds, and I'll stay quiet. So in this circle of concern, you're writing everything that is worrying you or concerning you right now. Okay? Ladies? Done. Amazing. Now, we'll draw another circle, and this circle, we will call it the circle of control. And the condition here is we can only migrate to this circle of control what's in your control. So let's say in this circle of concern, you wrote 5 items, let's say. In this circle of control, usually, it's like fewer items can migrate from my humble experience. So if, for example, someone says, I'm worried about my kids' health, unfortunately, we cannot take it into our controls because it's not in our control. As crazy as it might sound, it's not in our control because I might be an amazing mom who is creating the best lunch boxes because I want them to be healthy. And the moment they leave the house, they will throw the lunch box and they go eat junk from their friends, even if they didn't have money to buy from the canteen. So you only migrate to this circle of control what's in your control. So I want to see a show of hands. How many of you in the circle of control added things that are related to family or work or, circumstances? If COVID, yeah, exactly. Don't be shy. Many will be like you. So yeah, exactly. So let's really remember to remove things from our shoulders because it's much lighter to realize what's in our control, and the circle will be much less than what we think we are handling. Okay? Sounds good? Are you all with me? Good so far? Ready for number 2? So the first one is to focus on what's in your control so that you can shift the needle and achieve your goals. Second is reframe the narrative because the story you keep on telling yourself becomes your reality. And what does that mean? So I want you to think of a challenge. If you want to write it down. But I want you to think of a challenge that you have right now. Okay? And to think of all the stories that you keep on telling yourself as a result of this challenge. This is a disaster. I'm not good enough. It's not going to happen. This order is not coming. All the stories that you keep on telling yourself as a result of this challenge. And then I'll ask you to think of a more possible or proposed story you could start telling yourself. And why I'm doing that? Because just like that photographer who set his tripod to look at to capture a landscape or a model or whatever they want to take photos of. So that photographer would look into the screen, into the frame, and he would say, no, this is not what I want. This is not what I have in mind. That photographer cannot delete that landscape or cannot delete that model. All what they can do is shift the angle from where they are looking. So shifting or reframing the narrative will not solve the problem, but it would help me with that cognitive flexibility to see things from a different perspective and to start thinking more creatively. And usually, when I ask people to write about the story that they told themselves with the first version versus the second version of the story, which is a more possible or a proposed story that they could tell themselves, I ask them, what did you notice? Like in less than 10 minutes, you wrote 2 stories. And that's what our brain does. It will keep on giving us so many stories, so many scripts, and it would be like doing episodes of all the things that we are telling ourselves. So it's up to us to decide which story to believe in. Because that's what our brain would do. We would go into that downward spiral of this will not happen, this is hard, this is impossible, this is a disaster. So let's start reframing. This is a disaster to this is an opportunity. And that's what got me in my dark chapter, in one of my dark chapters out, is shifting one question only. And if today you leave with this one question shifted, I think mission accomplished for me in terms of building that positivity muscle. And the question is, start shifting from why is this happening to me to what is this trying to teach me? Because there's always a lesson. There's always a lesson, and God will keep on sending you the same problem over and over again until you learn the lesson, right? You see patterns in your life. Until we learn the lesson, we're not going to move on. So let's really focus on, instead of why is this happening to me, why my family member had severe depression, to what is this trying to teach me? It taught me that I'm much stronger than I thought I am. That's one of the things that I learned, for example. And same thing for you. Look at what is this trying to teach you, because our words become our reality. And if we want to be more positive, we need to focus on the words that we are using. And why is that? Because imagine you are telling like you are the person you talk to the most, irrespective of how many friends or family around you. Like now I'm here, I'm talking, and you are talking to yourself, right? So you are talking to yourself the most. So watch your language, because it's a game changer. And I'll give you an example that hopefully would resonate with how much it's important to watch our language in a very easy way, I hope. And I hope everyone here loves mangoes, which is, I think, many people. Do you all love mango? Yes. Okay. And let's say it's the thing you love less or like less is kiwis, okay? So I want you to imagine that there's a farmer who has a very big and fertile land, okay? It's massive and it's very fertile. So whatever you plant, you will get more and more of that. So we'll go to this farmer and we'll tell him to plant mangoes, okay? And because it is fertile, we'll get more and more of mangoes. Remember, mangoes are things we like, things we want. Or we can tell him to plant kiwis. And these are things we don't like or like less or causes allergy to us. What I want to assure you is that our brain is a much more fertile land than any land you could think of. Whatever you plant, you get. If you plant mangoes, things that you like, things that you want more of in your life, you will get more of that. And if you plant kiwis or toxins or poison or things you don't want, you will get more of that. Right? And the good farmer would never leave his land. Why? Because just like that, there are weeds that grow that will damage the good plants. So imagine today, everyone here is living by planting some of their mangoes or things that they want in their life. But as the moment you leave this room, you would receive a bad email or a bad news or whatever. We don't live in a bubble. I hope we do, but that's life. It's, as I said, full of obstacles, full of challenges. So all what the farmer would do is pluck those weeds every single day. Because if he didn't remove those weeds, then the mangoes will not grow. So it's very important to reframe the narrative and to know, what are you planting? Are you planting things you like or things you don't like? And the problem I see is that everyone knows what they don't want. But when you ask them, what is it you want? They struggle. I don't want stress in my life. So what is it you want? Because now if I told you, don't think of a red giraffe, you're thinking of that red giraffe. So if I said, I don't want to think about stress, that's what all I'm getting. That's all the kiwis. So really watch your words, because they become the reality, and watch the story that you keep on telling yourself, because that would become your reality as well. Okay? Sounds good? Is it realistic, or you feel like it's not so? Yeah? Good. Now, tool number 3 is building your emotional literacy, which is something I'm really advocating a lot recently, because we know that emotions drive people and people drive organizations. If we want more people to succeed, we need to look at the emotions. And the funniest part is the organizations that says, you know what, Faten, in our office we don't talk emotions. And that's funny. Why? Because who's talking in the meeting room? Who's talking in a boardroom? Emotions are talking. And hence the aggressive behavior, or the passive aggressive behavior, or the silent treatment, or whatever, or the gossip. It's because the emotions were not talked about. And science has proven that we need to name our emotion to tame it. And I'll show you some science-backed studies on this, name it to tame it. And before that, just a question. How long do you think an emotion stays in our body? Just throw numbers. Forever. 5 minutes. How long? Seconds, how long? Wow, that's very close. It's 6 seconds only. Emotions stay in our body for 6 seconds only. But when we attach a meaning to that emotion, it becomes a feeling, and if we hold onto that feeling a bit longer, it becomes a mood. So one thing only that happens in the morning would become like a statement or a feedback you heard from your manager. It's like weeks. You can't recover from that. So 6 seconds only, because emotions are like electrochemical thing in our body. People like to look at it as like passing clouds. I like to look at it as a passing car. So imagine this is a window where we can see cars passing by. We can follow the car from here to this, and that's it. But we attach meanings to that. And our brain is a meaning-making machine. So it's very important to start realizing the power of emotions, because as I said, emotions drive people and people drive organizations. Now, why I'm advocating for emotional literacy? Because when we learned how to speak in English or Arabic, we started with a building block, which is the alphabet, right? And from the alphabet, we learned how to make words. From words, we made sentences, and from sentences, we started talking, right? The building block for emotions is not there. If you ask people, how are you feeling right now? They would say, I'm okay, I'm fine, alhamdulillah. If there were British people, they would say, not too bad. And that's it. All of these are not emotions. How are you feeling? These are not emotion words, because our vocabulary is missing. Unfortunately, we didn't learn that in schools, in university, and sometimes even at work. So we need to know, to name the emotion. This means we need to have vocabulary on how we are feeling. So this wheel of emotions, you know, you would read it by looking at the smallest circle at first. And I want you to think of a challenge or anything you want to think of, and what are you feeling right now? Or maybe what are you feeling right now? Forget about challenges. I'm talking a lot about challenges. So what are you feeling right now? Let's say I am happy. Happy is not the exact emotion I'm feeling. I need to look deeper. So am I feeling playful, content, interested, proud, accepted, powerful, peaceful, trusting, or optimistic? And I'll have to pin that. And from there, I go even further. Because it's very important to name our emotions, to tame them, and that's the research. So they connected functional MRIs to human brains, and they were seeing which part of the brain was activated when people were just feeling the emotion versus when they were naming the emotion. And as you can see, and now you are experts in the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, I hope, that it moved from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. So that proved that we need to name it to tame it. So in the meeting rooms, start asking yourselves, what am I feeling right now? And if that emotion had a voice, what would it be telling me? Because there's always a purpose for that, okay? And remember, there are no good or bad emotions. All emotions are there for a purpose. It's just like a traffic light that I need to stop at. And we see that the more we don't stop at these emotions, the more we crash, because simply we're not stopping at those traffic lights. And hence why, you know, the executives I'm coaching, the CEOs and CXOs, are facing some now even health problems, because brain and body are connected. So if I'm not taking care of my brain, my body will follow, right? So that's what happens. And the other experiment, which is to name it to tame it, was in UCLA in US. They did an experiment on the fear of spiders. So fear of spiders is a very common thing after fear of death and fear of public speaking. I think it comes third. And what they did, what that professor did, he got a group of people and divided them into 3 groups. The first group, he asked them to come as closer as they can to that spider, which is in a box, and to name what they are feeling. The second group was asked to just, ignore, because simply it's nothing, it's nonsense. It's a spider in a box. And the third group, they were asked to just, they were not asked to do anything, just, there. And they invited them a week afterwards. And they were testing how close they can come to a spider And their stress factors or signs of stress, usually some people, when they are stressed, they have like wet palms. So they were testing that. The group that was closest to the spider was the first group that named the emotion the week before. So that was another proof for this hypothesis, which is name it to tame it. So in order for us to be more positive, we really need to start naming our emotions, okay? And one thing here is that, again, our emotions has been proven that they are connected to our brain chemistry, which is, you know, that when we are stressed, there's cortisol, and when we are happy, there's the happy hormones, the dopamine, the serotonin, the oxytocin. I hope you heard about these hormones. So if there wasn't any connection, then it's impossible that the emotion would be connected to the brain chemistry. And then they proved that the emotion is connected to the autonomic nervous system, which is the nervous system that works without us noticing, you know, just like you keep on breathing while sleeping. This is the autonomic nervous system in action. Again, when we have happy, like stressed, as I was sharing, people sometimes feel wet palms. You know, when for example, there's fear, you start, you know, wanting to breathe like this. It's all autonomous. You don't feel that this is happening, but there's a connection between that emotion and that, you know, system that's going on. So they proved that this is both connected. Finally, they said emotions are connected to our muscles. And how did they prove that? Which is, they asked people to go, they put them in two groups. And the first group, they showed them photos for happy people. And the second group, photos for sad or distressed people. And they were directly assessing their mood afterwards. So the first group that saw the happy people, their mood was better. The second, the mood was lower. Now they ask them to go see the emotion, whatever the emotion is in the photos that they are seeing, and to mimic the emotion. Mimic the emotion meaning using the muscles. So what they realized is that, again, the mood was higher in this room and lower in the other room. And the third time they said, okay, now go to that room, see the emotion, mimic the emotion, and look at yourself in the mirror while you're doing that. Again, when people saw themselves and saw how they are moving their faces and their muscles, even that was higher here and lower here. And to test that, I would invite you all to stand up right now, because I don't want your energy to go down. Stand up, please. And while you are standing up, solid ground, you know, I want you all to look up and pull your hands up like this. Exactly, Ya Rab. And while you are looking up, I want you to try to have any negative feeling, like sad or afraid or angry or whatever. Can you? While you are looking up and standing up? It's impossible. You can get down. It's impossible while you are standing and looking in this pose, which we call the power pose, to feel a negative emotion. So what this showed us, that literally our emotions are connected to our muscles. If I want to change the emotion, just shift my muscles, move around. Why do people say that when I go to the gym, I come back full of energy? Because I moved my muscles. And this is called the power pose. I personally use it when I have an important meeting and I'm stressed and I want to sign that contract. I'll pass by the restroom, I say, you've got this. And then I move because I shift that, you know, stress, anxiety to, yes, I've got this. And it works. So in less than 10 seconds, you were able to feel that. Yes, Sharif?
Are you sure of this gym one?
Yes.
Because I'm stressed at work, I go to gym, I become stressed and pain muscles. So I don't know probably.
I think you're not doing the right exercises, Sharif. But trust me, yes. But trust me, once per month, come on. Come on. But yeah, absolutely. I'm like, I always say, you know, two things keep me sane, my faith and the gym.
And my health.
So yeah. Okay, tool number 4. How's the energy, guys? Are you hungry? Yeah? I'll make it faster. So, tool number 4, which is connection beats isolation. We are hardwired for connection, guys. We cannot live alone. Let that vulnerability be a bridge for you. Okay? We literally are hardwired for connection, as I said. Did you watch Castaway for Tom Hanks? Yeah? This man couldn't live alone. He talked to Wilson, which is the volleyball brand. Same thing. We cannot live without friends. What got me through my dark chapter wasn't a book or a podcast. It was some real conversations with few friends that got me out. And remember, as I said, everyone is struggling. So people think, and high performers think specifically, that it's only me. Only me is struggling right now. Everyone is struggling. So build that connection and look at who you can lean onto. You don't have to have 100 friends. 1 or 2, and that's good, okay? And then tool number 5, practice gratitude. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. It's the most researched topic in positive psychology. And it has proven to leaders who practice gratitude and individuals who practice gratitude to show 23% lower stress and 31% more effective in high pressure decision making. And as designers, engineers, architects, you need to have that clarity and you need to know how to make better decisions, and gratitude is a game changer. And I always say, we really live in a land of abundant opportunities. We are maybe, like a very small part, maybe 500 million people or 600 million people of the 8 or 9 billion people who can come closer to their goals. So let that sink in. Because when gratitude is there, fear disappears and abundance appears. And I said we are on a mission to create positive workplaces. I want that abundance mindset to be in each and every individual because there's lots of opportunities for everyone. That toxicity and that competition and that is not something good. It's ruining people. And the exercise that I would tell you about and almost leave you with is the 3 good things exercise. And some people might doubt that, like, Faten, come on, 3 good things every day. If I went into this habit of writing 3 good things, will that help? I understand you when it's done mindlessly, because when my kids were younger and I was putting them to sleep, we went into the habit of every night to count our blessings and count what we're grateful for. And each night, it's repetitive. Okay, we're grateful for having food on our table. We have a ceiling above our head. We have clean sheets on the beds. We have our mom, dad, blah, blah, blah. They start counting their toys and all of that. And because it's repetitive, it becomes mindless. Just like people who, for example, pray mindlessly. They just pray and they're not thinking about what they're saying. So the switch that I learned through positive psychology is to count or write down 3 good things and write the cause for that. So let's say I'm grateful that I have electricity in my house because I paid for Kahrama or Diwa in Dubai. I'm grateful that I found a parking space easily because I was early and I wasn't stressed so I still could search for spaces. And I'm telling you these ideas which you don't think that are important, but we need to always think of these many things because that's the game changer. So always get into that habit of writing 3 good things that happened with you And can you do that in 1 minute now? Yeah? 3 good things that you're grateful for and the reason for that. What are you grateful for and the reason for that? I'm grateful of having you all here, and the reason of that is Maher. Because really you're allowing me to be on your growth journeys, I hope. Okay? So, as I'm closing, I just want to remind you, and I hope you saw, that positivity isn't a la-la land or, a Pollyanna approach. Positivity is grounded by science, and it's not a luxury when things are going well. It's a strategy. When things are going well, things are going well. So it's a strategy that we need to start building, because at the end of the day, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And I invite you to read that again. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And that's what we see in organizations. If the system is not good, well, then we're falling into that. And your mindset is the foundation of every system you operate in. It's all here. So practice that muscle, and thank God it's a neuroplastic muscle. It's not like a cement thing. If we practice it, it will work. Okay? And finally, before I leave stage, I really want to thank Maher again, and for not only giving me this opportunity, for creating a space to such conversations. Because what really differentiates organizations from others, and resilient organizations from others, is, are we looking at just numbers and figures and achievement and moving that dollar sign up? Or are we really investing in our people, investing in the mindset of these people? So for that, I really want to thank you. And I believe that just wrapping up this, we need to always remember to think of what is in your control, to reframe the narrative and to ask yourself what's a more possible story you could think of, to learn about your emotions and look at what is it you're feeling, to check who you can lean on, and finally, to practice gratitude and say what are you grateful for, because that's the muscle that you need to build. And remember, building are built by teams, and teams are built by mindset. And I think today, with the help of Maher, we honored both. So thank you so much. I really hope that was beneficial. And let's connect. I'm on LinkedIn and any social media, you would see me. So thank you so much. Thank you. Any questions, any thoughts? No questions? Okay, good.